Now, this next story, if you're at or close to retirement age, you'll certainly want to listen up to it. There's a new survey out revealing baby boomers are unprepared for retirement, having less than half of what they'll need in savings. That's what that graphic shows. They need on average $658,000. They have like $263,000. Financial advisor and author of Retire Inspired, Chris Hogan, joins us now. What went wrong, I guess, is the basic way to ask it, Chris.
Well, Connell, I think a lot of people have looked at retirement as this magic age, that once you hit 65, there's going to be a magic fairy that shows up and brings money. The reality is that retirement's not an age, it's a financial number. And so we've got to get more people clued into this and really understanding the steps they can take to put themselves in a better financial position.
That's a good point, because it speaks not to the boomers who, in some cases it may be too late to get to the place that you want to get to if the numbers are really as wide as the averages show, right? 2-something versus 6-something in the hundreds of thousands. That's a lot of money. But if someone's watching the show today and is like, say, 30 years old or has a son or daughter that's 30 years old, what's the number? What do they need to look at?
Well, I think, you know what, that is something people have asked me all over, and I really think it boils down to what is the quality of your life going to look like in retirement?
Right.
Like, what are your dreams? Do you want to travel once a month or is it once a year? I developed a free tool called the Retire Inspired Quotient, the RIQ, at my website, chrishogan360.com, to help people understand better how much are they going to need to live their dream.
Right, well, they want to live their lifestyle. So say someone comes in and they're making, someone's making $100,000, say. I know it depends on where you live, but is that what you look at? You say to them, here's your lifestyle, here's what you can afford to do now. What's the number that someone like that would need to afford to do that later? At what age?
Yeah, and I would say, Connell, the other thing you have to take into factor, the other aspect that I teach people to do across the country is to get debt out of your life, because it's a thief.
All debt or just certain types of debt, like credit card debt, like a mortgage?
I would say
mortgage debt,
every type of debt available. I'm talking about credit card debt, car loans, and mortgage. I mean, just imagine, how much do you really need to live on if you don't have a mortgage or you don't have a car payment?
Of course, but in that order, credit cards are the worst of the worst, right? So everybody's always said.
Absolutely they are. And so when you get out of debt, you give yourself a raise. And so I've talked to people that are living on $3,000 a month that are fine. They're completely out of debt. They've got an emergency fund, and they're able to travel and do some things. So it's really going to depend on lifestyle. The main thing is, like you mentioned, to this early person, this millennial that's out there, I want you to get plugged in, use your 401k or 413b as soon as you can, and never touch that money. Don't pull it out. It's not for now. It's for later.
Let me go back then to the older people for a moment, to the baby boomers who we just started this segment by saying they're in so much trouble because on average they don't have as much saved. What about their debt? What about if they are at a point where they, it's tough month to month? Should they be focused on the debt as much or just kind of leave it there and make minimum payments? What do you say to those people?
I would definitely tell them to focus even more so on the debt. I mean, you've got to look at this and understand you give yourself a raise when you get out of debt. So if I'm talking to someone that's in their 50s and they've got $20,000 in credit card debt, I'm going to encourage them to not only get serious about budgeting and cut back lifestyle, but maybe even take on a second or third job to get that debt out of their lives.
Right.
Now they've given themselves some margin to start to save for the future.
It is an amazing number, though, that average, right? You need $658,000 on average, and they have 200 and some odd, 263 on average. All right, Chris, good to see you. Thanks for the advice and the insight.